LeighTDickey.com. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Leigh Dickey here. Welcome to a brand new episode of the Beats and Speaks podcast. We're talking Christmas and the holidays again with my guest this week, Will Nash. Now, Will is an on-air personality and all-around radio pro with 96.7 CHYM FM in Kitchener, Ontario, Canada. It was a real pleasure to have Will on the show. We talked his radio career, his love of Christmas and the holidays, and his teaching career, because he is a professor out at Mohawk College in the radio program. Again, it was a real pleasure to have Will on the show. You can interact with Will on Instagram, Twitter, and all forms of social media at Will Nash on air, hashtag Will Nash Live. I will link all those below. All those links will be in the description. Please do check out my guest, Will Nash, on the air at 96.7 CHYM FM and on social media at Will Nash on air. Will, it was a real pleasure to have you on. Thanks for coming on the show. And if you ever want to do another episode, please do just reach out, let me know, and we will set something up. My inbox is always on and my door is always open, and you are always welcome back here. Now that you know a little bit about my guests and what we're talking about today, I want to tell you a little about me, where you can find me, and where you can find the Beats and Speaks podcast. Of course, you can find me on social media, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Leigh T. Dickey. That's LeighTDickey. All those links will be in the description below. You can find the Beats and Speaks podcast on my official website, LeighTDickey.com, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, and wherever podcasts are available. Please do rate us 5 stars, because that helps us climb in the rankings, which helps me put out more episodes and more content for you all, because I really do enjoy doing this show. So please do comment, like, share, and subscribe. We're on YouTube as well by searching for Leigh Dickey TV, but of course all those links will be in the description below. If you'd like to be a future guest here on the Beats and Speaks podcast, please do email me at LeighTDickey. Again, that's LeighTDickey at gmail.com, and we can set something up so you can hear yourself and find yourself sharing a Wi-Fi connection with me right here on a future episode of the Beats and Speaks podcast. Thanks again for listening. We'll get right into the main event, which is my chat with Will Nash, where we talk everything about his radio career, his career at Mohawk College as a professor in the radio program, and most importantly, since we're getting close to Christmas and it's November and talking about Christmas is completely legal, his love of Christmas. So here it is right now, the main event, my interview with Will Nash right here on the Beats and Speaks podcast.
Hey, it's Will Nash of CHYM 96.7. I'm also an instructor at Mohawk College, and I host my own Facebook Live show, hashtag Will Nash Live, and you're listening to the Beats and Speaks podcast with Leigh Dickey.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, and anyone else within earshot of the sound of my annoying voice, welcome to another episode of the Beats and Speaks podcast. I am lucky enough to share a Wi-Fi connection right now with someone else who is more important than I, and has spent a considerable amount of time in the radio industry, but we're here not only to talk about his journey in radio, but also Christmas, because it is November by the time we record this, and probably by the time you hear this, so talking about Christmas and the holidays is legal. Ladies and gentlemen, I give to you Will Nash. Will, thank you for joining me on the Beats and Speaks podcast this week.
Leigh, thank you so much for having me. That was quite an intro, and I just have to say, you are important. You are just as important as I am. Don't sell yourself short, my friend.
I really can't help that. I'm only 5.5 feet tall.
Well, maybe you have a point. I'm about 6'2", so there you go.
I'd probably come up to about your midsection at that point.
You would come up to my midsection. Yeah, that would be accurate.
So, you spent several years in radio. Explain to me where your passion for radio and love for the industry kind of started.
I mean, honestly, and I know you hear a lot of people say this, but I was that kid who was coming home from school and going to my room and turning on the radio and just listening to some of my favorite DJs play like top 40 music as I was, kind of trying to work away at my homework, but I was more focused on, what songs were being played on the radio. than what I was learning in school. And that's really where it started for me. I mean, I remember my mom, she always had the radio on in the house when she was dropping us off at school. We grew up listening to CHFI, funny enough, but it was probably when I was like 10, 11, I really began to, develop my own like musical taste and, find stations that I wanted to listen to, right? So that's really where it started for me. And then, from there, I guess I was just like an avid radio music lover pretty much as long as I can remember. Like, and then, later on in life, I was like, okay, maybe I can, do this as a job. Maybe I can do what I've listened to all my life. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and you mentioned that you listen to CHFI always. Currently, you work for 96.7 CHYM FM out in Kitchener, which is basically the CHFI equivalent for the Kitchener market. So what is that like?
Honestly, I started back at CHYM in May, and, I had been through a situation previously at the end of 2018 where I found myself looking for work, right? And it was a situation of I was just kind of reaching out to everybody and trying to find something that was a good fit for me. But I'll say from the minute I walked in the door at CHYM, everyone there was just super, super sweet, very creative environment, very, Rogers is very like open concept with even just like how they structure their offices, right? And I think that kind of just really helps everything. And I mean, it's a great station. You're right. It is what they call the Blue Diamond brand, like CHFI, like CHYM, like so many other stations that Rogers has. And, it's been just a great experience. And it's nice to kind of be in a space that, flourishes with creativity and also like, everyone who you're working with is just super, super supportive of what you're doing. Right. So, it really has been amazing.
I remember listening to you on your previous station. I'll have to tune in to CHYM to hear you some more. And I know that here in Toronto, where I'm from, or at least where I'm producing the show out of, CHFI, since we're here to talk about Christmas, is basically the Christmas music station for the Toronto market. Is CHYM the same way out in Kitchener where you guys are? Or where you are?
Absolutely. Now, off the top of my head, I can't remember the exact dates, but I believe CHFI goes full on Christmas the day of the Toronto Santa Claus parade, right? And then, I believe CHYM, we're going to go all Christmas as well for everybody in Kitchener Waterloo. I don't think it's quite as early as CHFI, but it's shortly after that, towards the end of this month, that we'll be going full on Christmas, right? So. Yeah, I'm excited for that. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I mean, I know everyone has an opinion on Christmas music and, starting the holidays. At what point is it okay to, listen to Christmas music, watch Christmas movies, go shopping, host Christmas parties, that sort of thing. But I mean, Christmas is my favorite time of year.
And same here. I mean, I guess I'll tell you this story really quickly. Last year for Halloween, I thought it was a good idea because I thought it was funny, and I still think it's funny, and I stand by it. You can't tell me otherwise. For Halloween, I dressed up as Santa Claus.
No way.
Yeah.
That's a great idea. Why not, right?
I had a Christmas vacation sweater and a Santa hat, which I have attempted to wear through this entire interview, but I had to take it off because it's going to get in the way.
I can't wait to see your picture after.
I will send you the photo for sure. But I decided to do that because I thought it would be funny. And so many people got angry at me. They physically wanted to fight me. And I was like,
I mean, that's when it's like, you know what? I mean, Halloween is all about dressing up and kind of, playing, right? Playing imagination, having fun with everything. It's like I think people need to kind of, maybe relax a little bit when it comes to that stuff because, you're just someone who is, it's not like you're saying you're not saying that Christmas is starting on October the 31st. You're just saying, hey, you know what? It's Halloween and I'm going to dress as Santa Claus because I can.
Yeah, pretty much. And let's be honest, it's hilarious. But
it's so funny. Yeah, so funny.
I thought that, I'd get more. Well, some people were on board with the idea because they got the joke. But a lot of people were like, it's too early. Like, you realize that, the clock strikes midnight and this is seasonally acceptable holiday clothing, right?
Well, and this is just it, right? And you also mentioned Christmas Vacation in there.
Yeah.
And that is a movie that I have to watch it at least a couple of times every holiday season.
So you mentioned Christmas Vacation. What is your favorite Christmas movie?
I mean, that's up there. I mean, that is really, really one of those movies that is just, it's been around for what, like 30 years?
But probably close to 40 at this point.
Yeah, like it is hilarious. So many great lines in that movie. It's just so rewatchable. That's definitely up there for me. Yeah. I love National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. Off the top of my head, trying to think of some other ones that really kind of stand out. I actually, as someone who, grew up in the 80s and the early 90s, like, I love the Muppet Family Christmas Special that was on.
Yeah, I can't even fault that because I love it too.
So I'm not talking the one that's like the Scrooge one, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking, there was another special where they were at like Fozzie's grandma's house, right?
Yeah.
That's the one that, again, it's just so rewatchable. Another great one from my childhood as well. Also, I mean, you got to go with Elf, right? Will Ferrell Elf.
See, everybody says that. I mean, I talked to somebody about Christmas probably a couple days ago, and they had mentioned that, and like I have friends that say, yeah, I watched Elf in July. To be honest, for me, if it's on, I will keep it on in the background just for background noise for the holidays, or even year round, because why not? I'm the guy that thinks about Christmas 365 days a year. There's no such thing as not thinking about it. But I've never been a big fan of Will Ferrell, but I will admit, every time I hear him scream Santa in that film, I'm like, okay, good. I'm ready for Christmas. Let's do this thing. That kind of like lights the candle for me.
Oh, yeah. And that's just it, right? I mean, I definitely say for me the top one would have to be Christmas Vacation. I'm a very nostalgic person, so I like watching things that I watched when I was younger. Like, when I was a kid, like the Muppet Family Christmas is always a good one. I mean, there's just so many. Like, of course, the Charlie Brown, classic Charlie Brown.
Merry Christmas, Charlie Brown. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's an absolute classic. I'm just trying to, like, these are some of the ones that stand out the most to me.
Mm-hmm.
It's just nice to kind of cozy up on the couch and, watch some Christmas movie, especially on a day when it's freezing and the snow is falling outside, right? There's just something about that. It's just, it kind of, I don't know, it sounds cheesy and that's okay. But it just brings you a little bit of warmth, right? So I'm definitely going to be watching some Christmas movies this year for sure.
So do you prefer the big budget production Christmas films, or would you be just as comfortable with like a Hallmark Christmas movie?
I mean, it's funny, right? There's always the whole Hallmark thing. Like, I think I'm one of those people that I probably said, oh my gosh, like these movies, right? They're so cheesy, they're so hokey. And then, the next thing I know it, I'm finding myself, again, back on the couch. And I've already watched, something with Lacey Chabert, something with Cameron Bure, and I'm just like, what am I doing here? What am I doing, right? I mean, it is kind of, those are very easy watches, and I mean, I almost think that we just, with Christmas too, we crave that little bit of cheese factor that's in those movies, right?
Yeah. Well, I don't even know whether it's like a Christmas factor for me personally, but I'm a big fan of them. I know we're going to slightly get off topic, but I'm a big fan of the Batman series from the 60s with Adam West, and that is complete cheese.
Right, I mean, especially now in 2019, when you see some of the things like, the Joker and all these sort of movies, right? Like, the Marvel franchise and whatnot, like, in DC Comics, it's like, it's true, it's like, there is that element of that people kind of want to just, it's an easy watch, something you can have on in the background, and it's so true. I mean, I wouldn't say like I'm one of those people that has to sit and watch them, but I find myself one minute I'm like, oh no, these movies are horrible, and then I'm 3 movies deep.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Well, what else are you gonna do on a day where it's freezing and you just want to kick your feet up and relax?
Well, and I mean that's just it, right? Whether you're gonna have a big cup of hot cocoa, maybe a glass of red wine, it is the holidays. It is kind of something that will allow you to just kind of unwind, especially the holidays. as much as we love them, you and I are both admittedly fans of the holidays, they can be stressful too, right? So it's a great way to kind of unwind after your day of work, after, maybe you've done some Christmas shopping. And I know for me and my family, one of the hardest things to do is to plan when we are going to get together for Christmas.
So what sort of, you mentioned your family and like planning to get together. So what sort of traditions do you guys have in your family?
Yeah, so I mean, when I have two sisters, I have twin sisters, and they both have their own families now, right? So they have like, kids and stuff. They both have kids. I don't have kids. And so they kind of have, everyone kind of has their own little tradition where my one sister, her husband's background is European, so they celebrate pretty, like their big celebration is on Christmas Eve, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then whereas we grew up, whereas Christmas Eve, we would do something, but for us it was really about, waking up on Christmas morning. My mom would be, cooking the turkey, so that's the smell you would wake up to. And, then we would start off, and to be honest with you, I was that kid who was always the first up on Christmas morning. I would go down there and it would be pitch black. And then I'd have to run back up the stairs and nudge my sisters and say, get up, get up, get up.
It's
like
Christmas
Santa's
morning,
been here,
Santa was
right?
here. When I was a kid, I remember I couldn't sleep on Christmas.
Yes.
I could not sleep. And I remember one year I was about 9 years old, and I think I was about 8 or 9, and I had asked for a pool table for Christmas. My parents had got it for me, and they had stored it in the basement because we live in a bungalow. And I remember it was like 4 a.m, and I had woke my parents up, and they were just like, go back to bed. I'm like, I can't. It was one of those, if you've ever seen the Simpsons episode where I think Bart's a little kid, and Homer builds him this clown bed, and he just can't sleep, clown will eat me.
Oh, yeah, of course.
And
it's classic.
That was me that morning. It was like 4 o'clock. It was just like, I could not sleep. I was so excited. So my parents got up, and I'm pretty sure my dad was a little upset because he wanted to get more sleep. But we went downstairs to the basement. He pulls it out of this back room, and I was just like, okay, great, thanks. I mean, and I spent hours. I think we might even still have it. Like, it's down in the basement somewhere. But it was just, it's one of those, like, when I was a kid, I could not sleep. I couldn't kind of fathom this whole, like, you can't fathom what adults are like when you're a kid, right? Like, they need sleep. They take care of the bills and everything. But I was like, it's Christmas, and I'm just super excited.
It's true. I mean, you know what, though? Like, I think that, and you're right. I also, when I was younger, especially, I had trouble sleeping on Christmas Eve because I was so excited about what was going to happen the next day. But I also think that what made me want to go to sleep was knowing that, once I woke up, it would be here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, now that I'm older, because, my father, unfortunately, has since passed away, but I'll try to sleep in more. Like, I will not get, I'm sort of just telling myself that don't do anything before 9 o'clock.
Yeah, if you can stay in, because you also know, I mean, my family, we tend to have like quite a big celebration, and people are eating and people are drinking, and people are coming and going, and it's like, so Christmas Day tends to be like quite a long day, right?
It's as great as it is, it can be hectic. And I was gonna ask, since CHFI and CHYM are technically like the Christmas music stations for their respective reasons, what are your go-to Christmas songs?
Oh my God. I mean, there's so many, right? I mean, I do tend to like a lot of the classic Christmas songs, right? For me, I mean, I am that guy. I gotta go with, Mariah, All I Want for Christmas Is You. It's a classic, right?
Yeah. I'm not the biggest fan of it, but I can understand why so many people are like, you know what, it has to be on the Christmas playlist. Why wouldn't it be?
Yeah, and I mean, I think for me, it was like I was probably like, 14, 15 when that song and album came out. And so I just kind of like associate that with that's always playing while I'm, decorating the tree or whatever it is at Christmas time, right? I also love, even from further back, like, some of the Jackson 5 Christmas stuff. That's pretty classic. Stevie Wonder, Also, I'm trying to think of, just off the top of my head, some great Christmas songs. Even things like, Do They Know It's Christmas, right? Things like, War Is Over, so This Is Christmas. I mean, there's just so many. I remember being a kid loving, like, Alvin and the Chipmunks, right? There's just so many great songs. Do you have any particular favorites that stand out?
I'm a big fan of, do you know who Rockapella is?
I don't know if I do.
Like,
Are they new?
Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego?
Oh, like the TV show?
Yeah. They were the house.
Okay.
They were the house band on that TV show. They've done a ton of Christmas music. So if you get a chance to search like Spotify or Google or iTunes or Apple Music, you'll find a ton. Like Pentatonix is one of my favorites. Like
they do, you know what? They do a really good job. Like I know I was telling you more about ones that were like a little bit older.
Yeah.
Just because it gives me those kind of like classic nostalgic feels. But yeah, they do a really good. Their harmonies are incredible, right?
Yeah, like, you can't go wrong with like Bing Crosby or Frank Sinatra or Dean Martin either.
Well, yeah, and that's even taking it one step further, right? I mean, I'm just trying to think of the ones that I put on. Like, it's just, and honestly, like, it's not even so much about what song or what artist is playing. It's like, I just love a good Christmas playlist. You know what I mean? If it's like, you can go put something together and just kind of like hit random, hit shuffle, and then just kind of have it on. And, it's, everyone has their favorites. Everyone has ones that maybe, aren't quite as, it's like any kind of music, right? People have, it's what makes us unique is a different taste that we have.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, I will send you my personal Spotify playlist. I'll link it to you once we're done.
Amazing, and I will do the same. I still have to create my Christmas one. I have not yet done that, so I will definitely have to get on that for sure. But I mean, it's it's going to be good. I can't wait.
I'm super stoked for like all the music, and I can't
the movies.
I can't wait to watch all the movies and listen to all the music. It's going to be. I have a feeling this is going to be one of the holiday seasons to remember. Quickly as we wrap
I am so with you on that one. Absolutely, yeah.
Quickly as we wrap up here, we mentioned that you teach at Mohawk, and you teach in the radio program. So what's that like in contrast to what you do with CHYM?
It's completely different, and it's all the same, all in one. And what I mean by that is, so I actually was a graduate of Mohawk College, right? And, I had an opportunity to reach out to a friend of mine who was actually the program coordinator, and she was looking for some guest speakers. And then it was, so I said, you know what? I said, I think I was working in Barrie at the time for a station by Chorus, B101. It was top 40. I believe they're big 101 now. But anyway, and she's like, well, if you can make the trek from Barrie to Hamilton, you can come and be a guest speaker. It's not obviously a paid job, but it could be a good experience for you. And I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I mean, you know what? That sounds good to me. So I went out to the class, and I felt like it, I really got that high off of, talking. It's like emceeing an event in a sense, right? Where you're getting that high off of sharing, and I don't say this like, oh, I'm so smart, but like, it's like, sharing the experiences, the knowledge that you've had in the industry thus far with people who are still so fresh faced, but yet still so hungry, right? And then it's like, you know what? I wonder if they ever had something open part time, because I could still work in the industry and doing what I love. But then, you know what? Let's be honest. We know this industry is ever changing. We know job changes happen. You never know what the future is going to bring, right? And I don't even say that in a negative way, but I had an opportunity to start teaching there part-time about 4 years ago, and then I've kind of been, off and on when positions were available, teaching there ever since. And then what's been nice about this year is, I've gotten to do 3 courses. I mean, my schedule allowed it, and the openings were there, so that was fantastic. And it's completely different from being on the air at CHYM because, at this point I've been on air for a while, and I definitely have my routines and my, process for going on air and how I like to prepare and whatnot. But I still, as much as like when you're in school, you're never alone.
Yeah.
And you're always surrounded by students, hashtag we love our students at Mohawk College. But I still enjoy going into the radio station and doing the show. Like I'm on air tomorrow. I'm already looking forward to it, right? So it's like, but I like that they all revolve around working in the radio industry, and that I'm able to do both. I wouldn't want to just do one and not the other. It's nice to kind of fuse both together. So, but just so very different, right?
I can imagine, I remember going through a radio program here in Toronto, and I was sort of in awe of the people that were my professors that I was now working alongside of. I've kind of figured out this formula to how not to get starstruck, but
yeah, at the end of the day, whether you're talking about me or, somebody like Marilyn Dennis or Ryan Seacrest, it's like, at the end of the day, we're all just people, right? And it's like, I think that the biggest thing is I think that the best personalities, and that goes for radio, TV, podcasting, YouTube, is those people who are relatable, right? So it's like, not to say that you can't joke around about things. Like, I'll always joke around about some silly things, especially like if I'm doing like a live or, doing like a podcast. But it's like, what makes people be drawn to you in your podcast is the fact that people kind of, feel like they get to know you a little bit more, right? Now that they know that they like, that you're into the holiday season and this sort of thing. It's like, so that's, don't ever be afraid to, reach out to people, because you also never know who's going to say yes.
That was the thing, because I talked to one of your friends. I talked to Kat Carter on an earlier episode.
I love Kat. No, she's doing it right, because she left and she's in the Bahamas. So she's got the right idea.
And I suppose I can admit this, because I did a behind-the-scenes episode on our interview. But I felt so bad, because Kat and I had set this thing up, and my Wi-Fi would not hold.
I wonder if it's because she was on Wi-Fi in the Bahamas, though.
No, it's my Wi-Fi here.
Oh, you don't have high speed? Is that what it is?
It's not the highest that it could be. So
right. Well, internet's expensive.
That's true. So I'm just happy that through our interview, it's holding and everything seems to be going well.
Well, I'm so happy with that. No, I'm like I said, I live in Toronto, but I've been staying with a friend in Hamilton, and she has great Wi-Fi and stuff, because she's also a teacher. She's a full-time teacher at Mohawk. And so, we are on our laptops or on our phones pretty much 24/7. So, that's the way of the world, though, right? You're not living on social media. Like you and I were corresponding through email and then through Instagram. And, social media is something I'm also passionate about. So I think that it's important to stay connected that way, too.
The thing about like social media and Instagram and even this show, I'm surprised that like I reach out and people are like, yeah, I want to do the show. I'm like, you do? And then some people that I've interviewed are like, yeah, I've listened to your show. You have. Okay.
Well, yeah, to be honest, I don't think I caught the whole thing, but I did catch a clip of your interview with Kat Carter on Instagram. And and then when you had reached out to me, I think, maybe shortly after that, I was like, oh, okay, that's good. And I was like, you know what? Like, that sounds good to me. And I think that in this industry, it's best to seize as many opportunities as you can to get yourself out there, right? So it's like, you just never know. I really don't like to say no to things like this, because I think that every outlet's a positive outlet to kind of get yourself out there, right? So, and the fact that you just even, you could have literally thought of anybody in the industry, and, you decided to go for Kat, and then you decided to reach out to me. So, I really appreciate that too.
Well, I appreciate that you wanted to do the show and that you were so keen to do the show and let me pick your brain about Christmas and the radio industry. Last question.
Mm-hmm.
If you could live your life as a Christmas movie on a loop 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, which one would it be?
First of all, such a great question. And second of all, I think you're going to change my name from Will Nash to Clark Griswold. I am now Clark Griswold in National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. I'd say some swear words, and then I'd be like, where's the Tylenol?
Yeah, there you go. Just drop a few, salt and pepper your language with a few 4-letter words, and then just where's the Tylenol?
Because, I love that movie. It's that time. Christmas time is here.
Oh, man. You can't go
I know
wrong.
I'm too much.
You can't go wrong with Christmas Vacation. But, Will, I want to...
You really can't.
I want to thank you for wanting to come on the Beats and Speaks podcast and for the time that you and I have gotten to spend today. So quickly before I let you go, if you're on social media, where can they find you?
You can find me everywhere at Will Nash on air.
Perfect. Will, I want to thank you again. This has been an absolute blast. Keep in touch, and if you ever want to come back and do another episode, my inbox is always on, my door is always open, and you are always welcome here.
Honestly, thank you so much, Leigh. Anytime you want to have me back on, I'm more than happy to do so. And again, thanks for thinking of me, and have a great day. And can I say this? Merry Christmas!
It's legal. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, and happy whatever other holiday there is.
Happy Hanukkah, happy Kwanzaa. We get everybody, right?
We'll just get everybody.
We're inclusive.
We'll loop everybody in there. I mean, happy holidays to you, and Merry Christmas to you and your family, and thank you again, sir.
Thank you so much.
Well, there it is. There you have it. There you go. And because it's November and Christmas, why not? Ho, ho, ho. My interview with Will Nash. Will, thank you for coming on the show. It was a real pleasure to have you on to talk about your love of Christmas, your radio career, and what you're doing at Mohawk College. So shout out to all the radio students at Mohawk College. Will, if you want to play this for your students, feel free, be my guest. And if they can stomach the guy that doesn't sound like you, who's just a happy weirdo with a microphone who's happy to have you on his show, then good. I guarantee you somebody's listening to this thinking this guy's had 10 cups of coffee. And you'd be close. It's probably more like 9.5. Thank you again to Will Nash for coming on the show to interact with Will. Please do follow him on social media. That's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, at Will Nash on air. Of course, I will link all that below. You can check him out on 96.7 CHYM FM, and please do, because he's a good guy. I will link the station website below as well. But that wraps up another episode of the Beats and Speaks podcast. Thank you all for tuning in. Please comment, like, share, and subscribe. Find us on your favorite podcast app and player of choice: iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, and wherever podcasts are available. Please do like and rate us 5 stars and leave reviews on your favorite podcast app and player of choice. If you'd like to be a future guest right here on the Beats and Speaks podcast, please email me at leightdickey@gmail.com, and we can set something up and go from there so you and I can have a conversation right here on a future episode of the Beats and Speaks podcast. But that wraps up another episode of the Beats and Speaks podcast. That's it. I'm Leigh Dickey, and I'm signing off because right now I'm going to go contemplate all my life choices and probably sign up for Disney+. You guys have a good weekend, and we'll talk to you soon. Peace!